Hey all. I'm just going to do one example of these kind of questions, but to begin I'm going to be asked to sketch the graph of y equals 2 times brackets x minus 3 squared minus 8. So to do these questions I suggested that we take a minute and create a table of values for the parent function. The parent function is what we're doing these transformations to. The parent function's equation is y equals x squared. This is one of those things where you kind of have it memorized, but we picked the points, or in class I role modeled the points of picking -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And if you take -3 squared, it's 9, -2 squared is 4, -1 squared is 1, 0 squared is 0, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, and 3 squared is 9. This is one of those things where if you have this memorized and you just kind of write it down, that's fine, and you can also see how easy it is to develop. So the next thing I'm now going to do, and I'll just kind of keep that off to the side, and that's very useful for us later, is now we're going to work on the transformations, or work on determining table values for y equals 2 x minus 3 squared minus 8. So I'll start with my table values just like I did. And so sometimes what happens is students ask, well, how do I know what x values to pick? Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our formula here, or our equation there, and we're going to use it to help us develop the transformation. So the first thing I do is I look at what's inside the brackets, and that's what's going to affect our x term. And so don't forget that when you take that out of the brackets, you have to flip the sign. So the transformation we're going to apply to the x term is x plus 3. So we're going to add 3 to all the x terms. And then we look at what's not in the brackets for what happens to the y terms. So we know that for the y, it's going to be 2 times y minus 8 is the transformation that's going to be applied to the y terms. So I go back and I'm going to do all these transformations to these values on the table of values, and I'm going to do these transformations to these values on the table of values. So -3 plus 3, -2 plus 3, -1 plus 3, 0 plus 3. You can probably get the idea of how this kind of all fits in. So that should be, not -1, that's just 1 plus 3, so that's 4. That's 2, that's 1, that's 0. That's going to be 2 plus 3 equals 5. 3 plus 3 equals 6. Okay, so there's my x value transformations. Next we'll do our y value transformations. I'm going to circle this here because I know that was the transformations I did to the vertex, and we'll be able to double check that. So I'm going to say it's going to be 2 times, and this isn't going to be just some number, but it's going to be our value from over here. So our first value was 9 minus 8, and so 2 times 9 is 18, minus 8 is 10. I'm going to do 2 times 4 minus 8, so give me 0, and then I'm going to go 2 times 1 minus 8, so that's going to be -6, and 2 times 0 is 0 minus 8 is -8. And what I recommended in class is when you get to the vertex step, go back to your original equation and brainstorm what you think the vertex is from looking at the information given. So I would probably think the vertex is going to be 3, -8, just by looking at my formula. I can see that I confirm that with our work down below. 2 times 1, and it repeats now, and this is the moment where you can kind of say, okay, well, I see the pattern forming. So 0 and 10. So there we go, we've got our table of values created to graph, and we will sketch that really easy now because we've got our points 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and we've got those values over there. So I'm going to now graph it. So I've plotted my points. I can take a second now and just connect my dots. There we go, and I'm sorry, the pen is not helping at all. Remember to draw arrowheads and then label your equation. I believe it's y equals 2x minus 3 squared minus 8, and there we go. The other way we could do these kinds of questions is I could ask you to determine the equation in vertex form and give you a parabola. So you notice that this parabola does not cross the x-axis, so we definitely can't use factored form. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my vertex and try to figure out those 2 points. And I think my points are 4, negative 2. I take that information and I put it into my vertex form. So my 4 goes in right here. To figure out A, I use any other known point. So for example, I could use that point right there, which would be 3, negative 5. Plug that in. To get negative 5a, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, squared minus 2. That's 1. And so I can't just go and do 1 minus 2. What I must do is move the 2 over, so I'm going to add 2 and add 2. These cancel out, and I get negative 3, and a times 1 is just a, so I know my a value is negative 3, and I write my final answer as y equals negative 3 x minus 4 squared minus 2. And I know that's also correct because when I look at my a value of negative 3, my parabola opens down and is quite stretched or narrow.